Hey there, my name's Andrew Mackay-Smith and I host the Scars and Guitars podcast series, which I syndicate for the A-List Online as well. Before we get to the interview subject today, I'd love it if you could go across to my Facebook page and like it. Just type in Scars and Guitars into the search field in Facebook. Also, check out the A-List Online because I do a whole bunch of writing for the A-List Online. It's my website as well. So a lot of the features that you'll listen to, a lot of the podcasts, I should say, that you listen to here as a part of this series, I write about for the A-List Online. So I'd love it if you could like both of them on Facebook. Also follow me on Twitter. Very easy to find. It's just Scars and Guitars and also the A-List Online. You can't miss me. Simple as that. So the interview subject I have coming up for you today, his name is Drew Shirley and he is the guitarist in a band, outfit, same thing, called Switchfoot. The reason for the conversation is to promote Switchfoot's brand new offering for 2019, which is called Native Tongue. So let's have a listen to what Drew has to say. Here we go. Oh, hello, Drew. Sorry, mate. I thought the interview might still be going, so I just thought I'd hang around in the background until I heard something, and lo and behold, I did. So, sir, it's Andrew Mackay-Smith calling. How are you?
Hi, Andrew. Yeah, I'm fine. This is Drew from Switchfoot.
Wonderful, mate. Yeah, no, John sent me a text just asking me to hold back a bit because he'd managed to fit somebody else in to get some goodness from you about this wonderful album that you've got out there. So all good, mate. How's I call it the Aussie phonogrind. How's that been treating you?
It's been great. Yeah, the time change is perfect because for us it's in the afternoon, and so I didn't have to, wake up at some ungodly hour of the day to make it happen.
Yeah, I've had to do quite a lot of them, I must say, especially when I'm a big fan of a lot of underground and extreme metal. So a lot of those guys tend to exist on fairly nocturnal schedules as well. So, I guess for me, waking up at 1 o'clock and for them being up at 2 o'clock is sort of around the other way. So typically they might be asleep, but I've done many, 1 and 2 a.m. phone calls with people in your part of the world. But, mate, it's got to be done. We've got to spread the good word.
Thank you, and I appreciate the interview. Yeah, we're excited about our music, and we're excited about what's coming up next for the band.
So the album title itself, and I think you're of my vintage here, so you're probably aware of this, but it actually shares a title with the Poison album from 1993, and so it's probably entirely unintentional, but both albums boast excellent production and musicianship. But mate, in your own words, what can you tell us about Native Tongue?
Yeah, so it's our 11th studio album, and we are really proud of it. We produced it here in San Diego, and we all live here in San Diego. So, it's an album that just furthers our work here in our studio, where we kind of live and breathe here. It's right near our houses, and
Excellent.
We all live 20 minutes away or less. So we're in here playing around, coming up with ideas, editing songs, and I'm walking around right now. All the cables are strewn everywhere. It's kind of dirty in the corners, and there's duct tape around and instruments everywhere and amps and guitars. And so it's a really creative environment. It's we own it. We have the key. We can come in anytime we want and record. So that year, we also took last year off the road.
All right, yep.
We decided to take a hiatus. After 15 years of touring, we just said, look, we just need a whole year off. We're going to just not play any more shows this year. Mm-hmm. So that was 2018, and so this album was born out of us being home for a year, too, which is really, really different for us. So it just felt really good.
I bet. Something else I noticed, okay, and look, the way things are these days with so much radio rock devoid of actual real guitars, so referencing their High Hopes by Panic at the Disco, the recent track from those guys that's got high rotation at the moment, but look, you can definitely hear the guitar across Native Tongue, no doubt about that, and the production is definitely of the new school, so it's going to work wonderfully for radio. But with the evolution of the band's sound, are you still writing songs on the guitar, or are you using other instruments to craft songs such as keyboards?
Yeah, so this album, we reached more into keyboards than we ever have. A couple albums ago, we did a soundtrack album called Fading West, and we decided to put the guitars down for a minute and see how that felt. And then we picked them back up again on the last record where the light shines through. And this one, we actually had some friends produce with us. So we, instead of going with like a hotshot, really
expensive producer,
like talent producer or something.
Yeah.
Expensive producer. We reached out to some friends and in One Republic and in Need to Breathe and another friend who plays with James Taylor, and we had them speak into our songs and give us some ideas. So honestly, we've like, so Native Tongue and Voices were production with the guys from One Republic, and I think it shows because for us that's really new. Like, we always play guitars on our records, a lot more than we did on those two tracks. I think you're right. It's going to be more radio friendly. We wanted to stretch out a little bit as far as push the envelope of things that we had done before. And it's just good for musicians to not get caught in a rut, but to like keep pushing yourselves, keep changing, like write on a different instrument or, push yourself to record a different way or work with somebody different than you have before. And it opens up creativity again. I don't know, something about that process that you just have to keep stretching to get creative.
Yeah, agreed, actually, agreed. And hey, this is a good one, a good question for you here. So you're one of the very few rock bands, what I'd classify as a rock band. I hope that's cool by saying that with you, actually, because I do consider you a rock band. But you're one of the few that do still receive terrestrial radio play, which is so bizarre these days. MTV doesn't have music, or I think music's gone back onto MTV, but it hasn't been there for about 10 years or so. But radio just doesn't play rock music, but you guys get on there. But do you think radio is still important, or do you think the rise of podcasts, Spotify and Apple Music playlists and social media influencers have taken their place?
Well, I think they've taken their place.
Yeah, that's what I think too, yeah.
Radio airwaves are just the statistics. You can just look at the data, and it's just they're not reaching people like they used to. It's all streaming services now. And what's interesting about that is that when you're on a streaming service, people are choosing what songs they want to listen to or keep listening to. And so, the metadata you get back from those services is really interesting because you're seeing data where someone actually thought, I want to go listen to a Switchfoot song, instead of just a radio programmer saying, all right, I'm going to feed this to all my listeners. It's data from an individual that decided to go and click on your song to listen to it. And that kind of means more than one guy at a radio station who just said, all right, we'll add your song because you took me out to dinner and, treated me really good, and we're going to add your song just because we're your buddies now. Those days are gone. And, the industry's changing, and it's a moldable industry right now where new ideas can work and happen, and it's moldable. And there's a lot of things that are wounded in the industry and depressed, and where the water's been let out, and there's just no more revenue streams in, purchasing of records, and all the, album sales are so far gone.
Yes.
But, but music is thriving still because, music is important to people. They've just decided that it's not as, it's free. It's seen as free. It's like, the music is free, but, you still have to pay to go see a band play live. So live touring is still, the main revenue source for a lot of musicians like us. But yeah, it is interesting, man. The radio is sort of a thing of the past.
That's a really good point you make,
but
and I hadn't.
Not.
Yeah, well, you made a really good point there that music itself is thriving, but the record industry, and I know you didn't say it was dead, but they're my words, it's pretty much done. And to your point, the way that business has done for 50 or 60 years, up to about 2004 or 2005, take a radio executive out to dinner, ply them full of alcohol and oysters and whatever else, and then you get into their good books and all of a sudden you're added to the playlist. Those days are gone. But music itself has probably never been more popular. I mean, there's never been a time when you've had so many media devices at your disposal that you can take with you anywhere to listen to music.
Yeah, it's so accessible right now.
Yeah.
And then if you don't have a streaming service, you can always just get on YouTube and listen to any song you want.
Yeah, it's nuts, isn't it? It's nuts. And I suppose you guys have been around long enough. You've got a 20 or 25-year career. So you've seen the change and you've adapted to the change, and you've not just survived, you've thrived in that. So I guess that's a question for you. What do you put that down to? Because, mate, a lot of bands didn't make it. A lot of bands broke up or had bad business arrangements in place in the first place, but not you guys. You've thrived.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I mean, we've seen a lot. We were back in the heyday where we sold 3 million copies of an album, and that just doesn't happen much anymore to bands, rock bands. We're honored to be played on radio. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's like, I'm glad we have that household name, that our album took off when it did, and that we have that, basis of like longevity, that publicity push added to our brand. And our fans are around the world, we've just stayed a band, and we've stayed making good music. Well, we're lucky to have John Foreman. He's our frontman, and he writes a lot of the music, and we have brothers in the band too. So like, he has a sounding board all the time with his brother. So he just keeps writing great songs. And it's one of those things where I'm really proud of our whole catalog. It's not like, oh, well, there was a few albums where it was just a dud and I just skipped those because it was just kind of really bad.
Yeah.
But all of our albums I'll stand behind. Like I like, and I'm proud of all of them. And I think we've had a consistent writer in the band, and that has been huge.
Yes. And what about you, matey? Are you still working as a session musician? Because I was doing my reading online in preparation for our conversation, and I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, that you do some session work, but you also do some production as well. So are you still doing that?
I do a little bit on the side just to keep fresh and help other people when I have downtime. But I honestly mostly, am in Switchfoot. Like mostly what I do is all Switchfoot, and which keeps me busy, and I love all different styles of music, so it's just healthy sometimes to like get out and play with a alt country band or something
nice,
folky or acoustic act or something, and just get free as far as like not don't get caught in a rut.
Indeed. All right, look, I'll make this my final question for you. What about Australia? How have we treated you over the years? Has it been a kind relationship, and have you had a lot of feedback from Australian listeners?
Oh yeah, Australia has been, I think, our biggest overseas fan base. So
awesome.
we've had an incredible relationship with Australia. Like, even from going back and doing the Soundwave Festival, where we went to a bunch of different cities with Soundwave, and we've done our own tours. We've gone on surfing trips on the Sunshine Coast, and we've been to Melbourne and Brisbane, and we've got friends all over Australia and Perth that
cool.
Just we've kept in touch with, over the years. And,
that's cool. Yeah, I live between the Gold Coast and Sunshine. Well, I live between the Gold Coast and Sunshine Coast. Actually, I've got two places, and the beaches on the Sunshine Coast, if I can boast for a sec, I think are the best in the world. And I've been to plenty of beaches around the place because I don't surf. I just love going into the water. But I mean, if you're surfing on the Sunshine Coast, mate, I don't think it gets better than that.
You're right. They are some of the best beaches in the world, and I've been around the world too. But you're right, man. There's just the people there are very cool too, and so kind, and like really just open. I guess people are not pretentious.
Yes.
In Australia, seems to me So we always feel right at home because we live in sort of a similar kind of beach community place here in San Diego, California.
Well, I think if I've been to San Diego, and it was the only place in the States that Australians or Americans are very much the same, but San Diego really reminded me of home. It was the only city where I thought, yeah, I could probably live here, to be quite honest with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get that too. Like when I went to Sydney, it was like a harbor town, a lot of waterways, you know, the buildings right on the water, and people are progressive, and there's a lot of different nationalities that kind of gather, which is just like San Diego. We have a lot of different nationalities here, which is something I really love, to be more, you know, racially diverse. But yeah, Australia, one of the best places in the whole world, and we cannot wait to get back there. So I want to say thanks to all our fans down there. They've waited to see us play for too long, and I hope this album meets your appetite for some new Switchfoot, and that you make them the soundtrack to your life. And, you know, we release them to you and hope that you enjoy them.
Mm-hmm. All right, mate, no worries. Fantastic way to finish the interview there, mate. Thanks so much for the kind words about Australia, mate. And for you, congratulations on an outstanding career. You are a very good guitarist, it must be said, and long may you prosper and continue to have an outstanding career.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you very much.
No worries, brother. All right, all the best. Thanks.
All the best. Thanks, you.
Mate.
Bye.
Catch ya. Bye. My name's Andrew Mackay-Smith, and I host the Scars and Guitars podcast series, which is syndicated for the A-List Online. That interview subject there was Shirley from the outfit Switchfoot. Thank you so much for listening.